Welcome back to the deep dive. Okay, our mission today, it might sound deceptively simple. We're really analyzing the most fundamental structure of how we communicate. How we organize and talk about actions that are already done. We've got these sources focusing on the simple past tense in English, specifically using that anchor word, yesterday.
Right, yesterday. And it might seem like just basic grammar, but that's kind of the beauty of it. The simple past isn't just a rule you memorize. It's really the engine driving all narrative. Our sources here, they basically act as a precise blueprint for getting reliability and sequence into storytelling. I mean, think about it. If you can't accurately say what happened yesterday, well, you can't really tell a credible story about anything, can you? History, science, even just your own day.
That's a great point. It's the real insight here, isn't it? Understanding this linguistic framework, it's like a shortcut, not just to, basic fluency, but to mastering the whole architecture of narrative.
Exactly.
When you tell a story, you're not just listing things off, you're mapping out a specific closed time period.
Precisely.
Hmm.
So what we're doing is analyzing the mechanics. How do we describe past events simply, accurately? Let's start with that immediate pivot, the switch from the general present to the specific past.
Okay, let's unpack that. The source material jumps right into this cognitive clash, right? Between present and past states. Like if I say, I usually wake up early, that's my habit now. But the second we lock it into the past, specifically yesterday.
The verb has to shift. It signals completion.
And that shift, even for something common like wake up, it's pretty radical in English.
Oh, definitely. The base form is wake up, past tense, woke up. That single change phonetically and, well, how it's written, it instantly tells the listener, okay, action's finished, it happened before now, and importantly, the speaker's ready for the next thing that happened. It's an efficiency thing, really, for sequencing memory.
Sequence. That seems key here. Our sources don't just throw verbs at us randomly. They're smart about it. They organize it chronologically. Morning, afternoon, evening. Why is mapping the day like that so important for learning this?
Well, because memory works sequentially, doesn't it? If you ask someone what happened, a witness, a colleague, anyone, they almost always default to starting at the beginning and going forward. Chronology. So by organizing these past tense examples around daily tasks, the source material links the verb form directly to a natural, relatable memory map. It helps internalize the forms in the order you'd likely need them.
Right, okay. Let's follow that map then. The sources detail specific morning activities. Looking at the data points, they focus on those really foundational, immediate actions after waking up.
We saw 4 main examples for completed morning actions.
Yeah.
Someone drank tea, someone read a book, someone ate breakfast, and someone listened to music.
And what's interesting there is the density of verb types already. Just 4 examples and bam. Drank, read, ate, listened. 2 of those, drank, ate, are classic irregular verbs, the rule breakers.
And that ratio tells you something, right? In everyday, high-frequency conversation, these irregular verbs, they do a ton of heavy lifting, communicatively speaking. These aren't some obscure words. They're the bedrock of our day, what we consume, what info we take in. You have to internalize them early for your narrative to flow properly.
I think we need to pause on read, though. The source points out something specific about its form. Because drank and ate, they look different from drink and eat. But read, it's a bit of a linguistic trick, isn't it?
It really is. The spelling is identical. R-E-A-D for the base form, R-E-A-D for the past tense. But the pronunciation, completely different. Read becomes read. It emphasizes that in spoken language, the signal for the past tense can sometimes only be heard, not seen in writing. If you tell someone, yesterday I read a book, it works only if they hear that subtle vowel shift. It's beautifully efficient, but definitely tricky for learners.
That's a lot packed into just the morning routine. Okay, moving to midday. Afternoon activities. The sources seem to shift focus a bit here, more towards getting out, interacting.
Yeah, the examples given were, I went shopping and I visited my friend.
And here we see that contrast again, reinforcing the whole regular pattern. Went super irregular past of go, probably one of the most used verbs, period.
Absolutely essential.
Then visited. That's your classic predictable regular verb. Just add ed. It's like a perfectly balanced little training set right there.
Exactly. It constantly reminds the learner, you have to check the verb status before using it in the past. Is it regular? Irregular. And then as the day closes, we get to the evening activities, often focused on, home life, winding down.
Right. Yesterday evening, the examples were, I watched a movie, I cooked dinner, and I ate pizza.
And this final set kind of wraps up that chronological structure neatly. The sources even reinforce it by asking direct questions to the learner, like, did you watch TV? Did you study? These questions force you to use the past tense yourself, even when you're just answering. The idea of completed action stays constant.
Okay, now let's shift gears. This feels like maybe the most critical bit for anyone really trying to get fluent, spotting the pitfalls, the common mistakes. If the simple past is the architecture of narrative, like you said, then irregular verbs. They're like the structural weak points where the whole thing can collapse if you're not careful.
This is where we get to the why, isn't it? Why do these narratives break down? English grammar, it relies heavily on consistency, like that ed suffix for the past.
Yeah.
But the verbs we use all the time, the high-frequency ones, they actually resist becoming regular. They're like linguistic fossils, hanging onto their old, irregular forms from way back.
So when a learner says, yesterday I go to school, why does that sound so fundamentally off? It's understandable, but wrong.
It violates the time anchor. Simple as that. Using yesterday absolutely demands a past tense verb form to signal completion. The source material is great here because it shows exactly where things go wrong. That mistake, yesterday I go to school, uses the present tense go, and it just strips the sentence of its time lock. The meaning gets muddled.
And the fix, yesterday I went to school, requires that complete change. Go becomes went. They don't even look related.
Precisely. And that tells us something pretty deep about language learning. You can't just apply logic, like add ed, to the most common verbs. You have to memorize them. The logical rule mostly applies to the less frequent ones.
Let's look at the second mistake highlighted in the source. Yesterday I eat pizza. Same problem.
Exactly the same failure point. Using the present tense, eat when the time marker yesterday requires the irregular past tense, ate. Again, it's like the logic of frequency wins out over the logic of grammar rules. If English was perfectly neat, maybe we'd say, I eated, but we don't. Ate is solidified because we say it constantly.
Okay, so the big takeaway from this whole mechanics section isn't just memorize stuff. It's that the irregular verbs, the ones needing those big form changes, go, eat, wake, drink, meet. These are overwhelmingly the words we use for basic, everyday life actions.
Right. If you don't get those high-frequency irregulars down, the flow of your story about the past it breaks. Instantly. Your story feels disjointed, maybe even unreliable. Not because you don't know words, but because that crucial time connection mechanism is missing.
Which brings us very neatly to section 3, synthesis, pulling it all together. The source material gives us this small story together section. It feels like the ultimate demo of stringing these past actions into a narrative that flows. That makes sense? Practical application time.
Yeah, this little story is basically the proof of concept. It shows how getting the sequence and the verbs right creates credibility. And notice, it uses time markers too. Then, after that, later, finally. Those are just as vital as the verbs. They're the scaffolding for the listener, guiding them through the timeline.
Okay, let me read through that full story exactly as it's presented in the source. Let's listen for that mix of verb forms and how smooth the pacing feels because of them. Ready? First, I woke up at 8 o'clock.
Irregular.
Then I brushed my teeth and ate breakfast.
Regular brushed, then irregular.
After that, I went to the park.
Irregular. Big one.
And I met a friend there.
Irregular met.
Later, I drank coffee and talked with her.
Irregular drank, then regular talked.
Finally, I came home and watched TV.
Irregular came and regular watched. Nice mix. So that little narrative, it uses 6 irregular verbs, woke up, ate, went, met, drank, came right alongside 3 regular ones, brushed, talked, watched. It's like a perfect little linguistic snapshot of a typical day.
And if you look closely, it seems like the regular verbs are often for maybe lower frequency actions or more technical ones like brushing teeth or watching TV. But the irregulars handle the major transitions. Getting up, eating, traveling, meeting people.
That reinforces what we were saying about frequency, exactly.
The story works, it achieves clarity because every single action is correctly sealed off in the past. When you hear it, you don't question the timeline. The time markers and those completed verbs create this reliable account. For anyone, lawyers, historians, even just friends catching up, that clarity is absolutely non-negotiable, right? Wow. This has actually been a really focused deep dive into, well, the engine of how we talk about sequences. The simple past tense. It's just essential for grounding anything you say in a completed time frame. And the key seems to be internalizing those different verb forms, especially the tricky ones we use all the time.
Right. And we can even boil down the main patterns we need to nail based on that final list the source gives us.
Yeah.
It highlights the different types of changes. Eat becomes ate. That's a vowel change inside the word.
Okay.
Go becomes went. That's a totally different word, basically. A complete stem change.
Got it.
Read becomes Read,
Right.
read, that's the sneaky one, the hidden pronunciation change.
Right.
And watch becomes watch. That's your regular predictable ed ending.
So master those 4 patterns: internal change, total change, hidden change, and regular change. And you've basically got the toolkit to tell any story about yesterday accurately.
Exactly. Now, for the practical bit that connects all this analysis back to you, the listener, and how your own brain works, the sources challenge you to cement this. How? By immediately building your own yesterday story.
Yeah, we challenge you right now. Think of 3 specific things you did yesterday. Keep them sequential, one from the morning, one afternoon, one evening. And don't just think about what you did. Really focus on using the correct past tense form of the verb for each action. Say it out loud, maybe.
And think about the verbs you picked. Were they those common irregular ones we talked about? Or the more predictable regular ones? By actively mapping your own day like that, focusing specifically on those verb forms, you turn this abstract blueprint we've been discussing into real, actionable knowledge about your own narrative reliability. Keep doing that, maybe even jot it down like the source suggests. Practice it daily. Your stories about yesterday won't just flow better, they'll become truly accurate records.
Fantastic. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the deep history and structure of the simple past. We really hope this roadmap helps make your future stories much clearer.
Until next time.